Alright, so today I wanted to make a video on what I think is the best hunting rifle on the market, dollar for dollar, the best hunting rifle. I think that the best hunting rifle, if money isn't an issue, it's probably something that's going to change a lot given the major brands are all coming out with new guns all the time. But this is simply you want your money to go as far as possible. Um, so again, I have the Tikka T3X Light Stainless. And why do I pick that? Well, number one, obviously reading up on what other people think. Number two, the amount of I've actually shot four of the T3s. I've owned the T3 Super Light. I've shot a T3 stainless, like this one, another T3, and the T3 Polyfade. So I've shot four of them, and they were all very. Two of them I've shot in enough detail that I can give a really two. The other two were just I think a couple groups, three groups. I think was one and one or two was the other one, just to kind of see how it was. But um, very good. Obviously the one I own is the one I shot in the most detail. And again, in my experience, not a whole lot of trouble getting sub MOA, even less than MOA accuracy at times. The polyfade, like in the video I mentioned before, was insanely accurate when I was shooting it. Even with the cheapest FMJ ammo that you could find in 6.5 Creedmoor, I shot like a half inch, maybe roughly a half inch group at 100, sub MOA right out to 550. So very accurate gun. Same thing goes for the super light. I remember shooting it out to 600 yards. It was around an inch out to that length. And again, that's just with standard, like nothing fancy hunting ammo. Like if you're reloading, if you buy match ammo, you're probably going to be able to pick these numbers up a little bit. Now again, you can't really pick your numbers up much from a half inch, or half MOA, but you can definitely pick them up from an inch. So accuracy on the Tikkas is about as good as you can get, to be quite honest. They're light, they feel good. Again, some people complain about the stocks. The new generation stocks, they've definitely improved that a little. They do feel a little bit better. They added this kind of piece to the grip that makes it feel a little bit better. The stocks on the new generation T3s do feel a little bit better, but personally, I didn't care. To me, the people, at least from what I heard, the people that were complaining about the stocks were like fuds who loved their wood stocks. At least I'm not saying that's everyone, but in my experience, those were the kind of people that were doing it. Because again, in my opinion, I don't really care all that much how the stock feels as long as the gun can perform. Like again, like if you had to pick between a gun that had a stock that felt amazing, but it shot like garbage, right? 2, 3 inch groups, or a stock that felt average, even a little below average, but it shot less than an inch groups or even an inch group. Like of course you're going to pick that one, right? The thing that really sets Tikka apart from other manufacturers is the action. It's the best action you'll feel, so smooth it's not even funny. Again, if you've never felt them, you really need to. Um, Again, also very light. I mean, you look at the weight here. The Some of them are 5 and 7/8, and some of them are 6 1/3. But again, there's very little difference between that, and the reasoning for that seems to be the 270 and 300 WSM, as well as the 7 meg Magnum and the 300 Win Mag, um, all have a 24 and 1/3 inch barrel. All the other ones have 22 and 2/5 inch barrel. So that's probably what accounts for the little difference in weight. Um, so again, like as far as the concerns I have about the Tikkas, number one, I wish the magazines were bigger. Aside from the 223, the magazines are all 3 round magazines. I wish they were 4 or 5. They do make, I think, 5 round magazines, but they're really expensive. Some people complain about the magazines feel cheap. which again I think is another stupid complaint because again I've had these again I people, brothers that have them. I've never heard of anyone breaking one, any of that kind of stuff. So I think the complaint about that to me makes no sense. The real complaint is that the replacement ones are really expensive. So that's something that I wish was better. The other one is the recoil. The recoil on these is pretty harsh. The new generation T3s do have a little better butt pad. The older ones were pretty brutal, to be quite honest. That was one of the biggest concerns of mine. But again, I got a limb saver, which again I think they cost like $40. That's not bad at all. And it helped out quite a bit, like quite a bit. It was actually I would say it's pretty comparable to my other 308 once they had the limb saver. As far as felt recoil goes, the actual amount of recoil is obviously going to differ, but felt recoil is what we're worried about. Without the limb saver, it was like borderline painful, and that was only in a 308 to be, which is pretty insane. It's not like it's a 300 Win Mag or a more heavy recoiling caliber. So that is something I would be concerned about. Which again, it is an easy fix though. Like again, like if a gun has a problem, it's an easy, cheap fix. I'm not really going to fault him on it. The new generations do have newer butt pads too. So that's something that again, what I would do personally is just buy the gun, see how it goes. If it's fine, it's fine. If not, just buy a limb saver or a different kind of upgrade. And another thing too would be nice is if they threaded the barrels like that. Again, that would probably cost the guns another 50 to $100. Personally, I'd be fine paying that, but maybe the majority of other people aren't. But if you had threaded barrel, you could throw a muzzle brake on there. That would do the trick. The only other complaint I have is that it's a two position safety. Um, which again, like Remington, is a two position safety, but you can manipulate the bolt with the gun on safe. Tikka, you can't do that. Most of the other major brands have three position safeties, like Weatherby, I know does. Savage, I'm not sure about the other ones, but getting a three position safety or like Remington, where you can manipulate the bolt when it's on safe, would be really nice. Um, but there is one caveat to that. If you open the bolt on a Tikka and and you have the obviously you have to have the gun on fire, and you try putting the gun on safe, you'll notice it won't go all the way. And if you close the bolt, the gun won't fire, but it's not actually all the way on safe. So I don't know if that's something that they actually designed it that way. To be quite honest, I've never actually looked into that. So if technically it kind of is a three position safety. The problem with that is that when you do that, you'll quickly notice that it comes off safe like very easy. You tap it with a feather, it's coming off safe. So that's something that I definitely would not rely on out in the field. But it is I guess nice to have, but I wish it was a better way of doing it. Um, Another nice thing they upgraded in the new generation T3s is that it looks like they made the port here a little bit bigger. The old generation were very small, and if you were at the range or maybe you're hunting and you ran out of ammo and you got to throw some in quick or whatever, um, it was very hard to get ammo in there because the port was really thin. They've made that a little bit bigger in the new generation, which is very nice as well. Um, but again, at the end of the day, I give these probably like an 8 or 9 out of 10. Like I say, dollar for dollar, they're the best hunting rifle in my opinion. Again, Cabela's.ca has them for about 12, just under 1,200 Canadian. You're probably looking at roughly 1,000 American, give or take 10%. Um, so again, not exactly entry level, but also not overly expensive. Like most people should be able to afford one of these. And again, this is another thing too that this is a gun you buy and you use it forever, right? Like especially you buy the stainless, you're not going to have to worry unless you're storing it in a very humid environment. As long as you have it stored properly and you don't excessively abuse the gun, it's going to be a gun that's going to, unless you shoot it a ton and you burn out the barrel, but it's going to be a gun that's going to last you forever. So this is why again, I'm not saying people should go spend 2-3 grand on a hunting rifle or some custom rifle. It's even more. I'm simply saying you buy something like this and you don't look back. Again, that's what I did, and looking back on it, it was the right decision. Not to mention too, a lot of people that have done this have also clearly liked the decision, right? That a lot of people they kind of bounce back and forth, and they got a bunch of rifles, but at the end of the day, you're really just wasting money because, again, like you hear of a lot of guys, they have like a 270, a 30-06, and like a 308. Like, but they're all guns that you're pretty much using for pretty much the same thing. Like, well, I don't know what's the point. You might as well just buy one, or if you have more than two, might buy two that are really nice compared to three cheap or average ones, right? To me, that personally, it just doesn't make a lot of sense, right? That again, like maybe you need two, like if you want to buy a gun you can use for deer and big game, and you want to buy another gun like a 223 or something you can mess around with or on coyotes or at the range or whatever, yeah, that'd be a good idea. But to me, like I say, it just doesn't make any sense to buy multiple guns in comparable calibers. I don't really understand what the point, especially when you're doing it with, if you're someone who has a ton of money and you want to blow it on guns, like by all means, I would probably do the same. But if you're someone who's on a budget, to me, it makes no sense, right? It just really doesn't make sense. So, um, and not to mention, too, you look at the reviews here, 24 reviews, 4.7 stars on Cabela's. Again, very good, about as good as you'll find out of a gun, especially a gun that's still a mid-level gun. Um, so like I said, um, dollar for dollar, the best guns in my opinion. And the other thing too is that there isn't a lot of other comparable guns in this price range. It seems to be that there isn't a whole lot of other guns. It seems to be that there's a ton of entry level guns, and then there's quite a few real high end ones, but there isn't a lot in that kind of mid level, like in that 1,000 to 1,500 roughly Canadian, maybe a little more, a little less. Again, depending on whether it's on sale, or not to mention prices are always bouncing around. It seems to be a lot of the entry level, like varmint and tactical or target guns. Yeah, a lot of them are in this price range, but there doesn't seem to be a ton of, at least in my experiences in the States, there's probably a lot bigger selection of guns, so it's probably not the case there. But in Canada, it seems to be that your options are there. There's, like I said, there's a ton of entry level guns, which is good, but there's not a lot in that mid level, and that's another reason why I really like these, is that you get a lot of the features of a high end gun without actually having to pay, like I say, 2 or 3 grand for a high end gun. Now again, a high end gun you are going to get a little bit more, but personally, the difference between this gun and a $2,000 gun is very, very, very little. Even though you're spending almost double as much, like the difference between one of these and some of the high end Seiko guns, to me, it's next to nothing. And then the Seikos are like double the price, and you're getting very, very little difference, if any, right? If any. So that's why I really like these. And again, like Benelli, Tikka is a brother or sister company of Seiko, which I believe is a brother or sister company of Benelli, which I believe is with Beretta. So again, I think I don't know who's at the highest and who's at the lowest there. I know Tikka's below Seiko, but I think Seiko's below Benelli, which is below Beretta, I believe. Um, but again, you're getting all the pretty much all the same stuff out of these Seiko guns that are $2,000-3,000 guns in a $1,200 package, right? So that's another reason. Add it to the list of reasons to love these guns. But anyway, that's what I wanted to bring up today. If you liked the video, make sure you hit that like and subscribe if you haven't already, and stay tuned for more.